Coming up on this episode, it's the mystery box challenge, and I have a box full of stuff from the Dollar Tree that I've never seen before that I need to create some beautiful DIYs with. So let's get started. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Natalie Callahan, and today I'm really excited because it's a fun day. We are doing the mystery box challenge, and I am participating with a whole bunch of really talented and amazing DIYers here on YouTube. And I have been sent a package from Whitney from Whiskey and Wit, and it's a whole bunch of supplies from Dollar Tree that I've never seen before. So I'm really excited to open this box and see what she sent me, because I actually sent stuff to Krafts by Katelyn, and I sent her some fun and challenging items I'm really excited to see. You'll have to pop on over to her channel next to see what I sent her. So let's get opening this and see what Whitney sent me. I'm really excited, so let's open this carefully. Honestly, she could have sent me really crazy off-the-wall stuff and I'd be fine with that. Okay, here we go. Oh, she sent me a little card. Happy fall from Illinois. Illinois or Illinois. Dear Natalie, welcome to the Dollar Tree Box Challenge. These have become favorite videos, and I'm also thrilled you're joining us. I can't wait to see how creative you get with these items. I threw in a ton of stuff, so feel free to pick your 7 to 10 and add the rest to your stash. Happy crafting, Whitney at Whiskey and Wit, because we were only supposed to send 7 to 10 items, so we'll see what she's got. Oh my goodness. So this is a challenge item. I'm going to hold on to that. Okay, some buffalo plaid ornaments. These are super cute. Last year I did some red and black buffalo plaid stuff, so maybe I can do something with these and add it to those items. Clothespins, awesome. Nautical rope. Oh, I've been seeing these at the Dollar Tree, and I thought that they are so cute with the wooden beads, so I'm excited to do something with that. Canvases, more of the clothespin theme. I think that could be really fun. She sent some really good stuff. I love that. I think we could do something really fun with this sign. Buttons. Now, I haven't seen these in mine, but I've heard about these, so that could be really fun. Awesome. Chalkboard tags. Another challenge item, so I'm going to hold on to this and this. Stickers. Wait, rub-on transfers. Okay. I think that's everything in the box. She sent some really fun stuff. I'm really excited, and now I'm excited to see what she sent for the challenge items, because my challenge items were really interesting that I sent Katelyn, so I'm excited to see what she sent. I love a good challenge. Okay, socks. This is a good challenge. I think we can do something with this. I'm not sure what, but we'll come up with something really good. I think I know what this is. And this is a good challenge, I'm telling you. Yep, it's a dog bowl. I'm gonna have to think on this. This is definitely a good challenge piece. So this is gonna be very exciting. So I'm gonna think on it, and in a few seconds your time, and in a little bit my time, we're gonna get crafting. So straight out of the gate, I wanted to tackle one of the challenge items. I am gonna start with the socks. Now I have to be honest, when I first saw these, the first thing that came to mind was sock monkey. I had one as a child, my husband had one as a child, so our children also had sock monkeys because they're kind of nostalgic. But I wanted to do something a little bit unexpected with a pair of socks. And I hope that you enjoy the idea that I came up with, because I am really excited about it. So what we're going to be making with these men's socks are some really stylish wrist warmers, and if we have enough of the sock left over, I might also do some boot cuffs. So we are going to start out by making the fingerless wrist warmers. The mystery box items I will be using are, of course, the men's socks, and I will be also using the jar of buttons. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our socks, and I lay my hand over the top of them to kind of get an idea of where we should cut the sock. I'm using the top black portion of the sock as the area that will go over my wrist. I make a snip and I cut all the way across. Then I lay my hand back down over it and I figure out where I need to cut a hole for my thumb and then make that cut. I try it on to make sure everything's going to work, and then I cut out the second sock. Next, it's time to cut out our lace. I'm using a wide lace for the upper portion, but that would be a little bit long for the thumb area, so I cut about 1.5 times the area of my thumb, and then I cut that in half lengthwise. And now I have enough for both thumbs. Then I do the same for around my hand, but I leave it the full width. Next, I snip the little piece just above the thumb hole, and you will see why I need to do that in just a second. Almost immediately after cutting these socks, I noticed that it was going to fray if left untreated. Now, you could do a zigzag on the edges, which I actually do in a second here when I add the lace, but I wanted a little added reassurance, so I put fray check on all of the edges. Now, fray check is a special fabric glue that does what it says, keeps fraying fabric edges in check. Now, at this point, I noticed that we do have enough to do some boot cuffs. So I cut off about 6 inches and fray check all of those edges as well. Now I work on the lace. We are going to add a baste stitch, which is just a looser straight stitch, which I set at a 5 on my sewing machine. And you'll notice as I stitch this that it actually gathers a little bit on its own. Now we can attach it, and we are going to start with the thumb. Start by pinning it to your open area, matching the edges, and then making sure that the gathers fit in between that area. We are going to now sew it on using a zigzag stitch. Now the reason we do this is it will allow the fabric to stretch a little bit without breaking our stitch. Once that's on, we're going to repeat this process with the wider opening. If it's a little loose, just pull on one string and that will cause the lace to gather a little bit more until it fits perfectly. Stitch it on the main part using that same zigzag stitch. Now we are going to flip it inside out and reattach our thumb opening. We're going to make sure everything is aligned, and then we are going to do a straight stitch set at a 2.5 and sew it back together. Now, isn't this looking good so far? Now, if you feel like the sock is a little bit too bulky for your hand, you can always make a seam and take it in a little bit. Now it's time for a little bit of embellishments by the way of the buttons that Whitney sent us. So we sew those on by hand. And it would be cute just like this, but I decided to take it a step further by creating some rosettes out of canvas drop cloth that I already had on hand. I simply tear off a section, maybe 1.5 inches wide, but I didn't measure the length. I'm guessing it's probably around 1 foot. And then I fold that in half lengthwise, and I start wrapping the center in the shape of a rose. And then I take my hot glue gun and squeeze some Gorilla hot glue out onto a piece of felt, and I glue our little rosette down. And I want to create some interest and texture, so I twist, exposing the frayed edge, and then I go around it, and then I twist it again and rotate that until we run out of fabric. To finish it out and kind of tie more lace into it, I take my smaller lace and glue it around the outside edge. When I'm happy with the way it looks, I cut the rose out of the felt, and then I take a Dollar Tree pearl from my stash and I hot glue that right into the center. Then I take my trusty E6000 glue, which was strong enough to work on my dance costumes when I was younger, so I think it will also work for this application. And then I also add some of my Gorilla hot glue, which is super strong as well. And that's it for this project. I really love how this turned out. They definitely do not look like socks anymore. Now, I didn't really do a full tutorial for the boot cuffs, but all I did was sew on the buttons and the lace like I did with the gloves, and it was just the same as everything else. So you can use these boot cuffs with ankle boots or long boots. You can tuck them inside or outside, whatever look you want to go for. But what do you think? I bet the next time you are at the Dollar Tree that maybe you won't pass by the sock section. Just want to give a quick shout out to Courtney from Creative on the Cheap. She's the one who's created this awesome challenge, and I just wanted to thank her for inviting me to participate. Next up, I am going to be using this plaque that she sent me and the rub-on transfers to create an awesome recipe stand. So I'm going to be adding a little plaque, a square plaque that I picked up at Hobby Lobby in a pack of 4, and these little mini To start, we are going to take our sign and cut off the twine. Now, most people would fill this in with some sort of putty before painting it, and you could definitely do this, but I have something in mind that I will share with you later. Now, because this is thin, it won't stand up on its own very well. You know, we want it to be a little bit more sturdy than that. So I came up with a plan. So we are going to take a regular sized paint stick, very inexpensive. Then we are just going to measure the width of the sign on the painter's stick and make a mark. And then we're going to take 2 small square dowels and do the same. Then we are going to take one of my favorite handy tools, that is my miter shears, and we are going to cut the paint stick and the dowels using this. This is such a good tool to have in your arsenal. Now that everything is down to the proper size, we can start assembling our recipe stand. We are just going to take some E6000 and some hot glue and glue the mini candlestick to the center of the square base. To hopefully create better adhesion, I fill in the top of the candlestick with hot glue and let it cool a bit while we assemble the base for our sign. I do this by taking one of the square dowels and gluing it onto one side with E6000 and hot glue, and then doing the exact same thing on the other side with the other dowel. Then I pick one side and add some of our glues into the crease, trying to get some on both sides of the dowel and the base, and that's where I place our sign. Now it will be able to stand up, and there's also a little slot for a recipe card. Now that our hot glue is cool, we can attach our recipe holder portion to the stand using the same glues. Now I would let this dry for several hours. When it's dry, it's time to paint our stand, which I use white chalk paint to cover the entire thing. Then I felt like I needed to fill in the gaps a little bit with some caulk, and I let that dry. Then I did a second coat of white chalk paint and let that dry. You get the picture. If you watch my channel, you know I have a mild obsession with stripes. So I tape them off like I normally do. And go over the paint with the original color to prevent bleeding, which is a technique that I love to use. It really works well. Then I take celery green chalk paint and do 2 coats of that on the stripes. Once that's dry, we pull back the painter's tape, and now it's time to dress it up a little. Now, if you like the look of a distressed piece, go ahead and sand off the edges a bit. Now we're going to take the rub-on letters that Whitney sent us and cut out the letters to spell recipes. I'm going to use an extra sign that I already had on hand to help me get the arch correct, and we'll just place our letters around the arch and then rub them on. It's actually quite easy. Now for those unfinished holes, I just take some brad nails that I had left over from another project and use hot glue to just glue those into the holes on both sides, kind of creating like a decorative nail trim. It just gives it a little extra something something. Now, the holidays are coming up, so there's going to be a lot of cooking going on. So I thought it would be a fun idea to place on the other side another place for a recipe. So you could have two recipes going at the same time. And I do that by taking one of the mini clothespins that was in her package and gluing that on the other side. And that's it for this one, my friends. Isn't this so adorable? I just love this. I love that you can take two recipes at the same time. I think this would make a fabulous and very affordable gift idea for this upcoming holiday season, or you could just make one for yourself. What do you think? So next up, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take this cute sign, which I really think is adorable. I love that. We're gonna do something to zhuzh it up a little bit because it honestly doesn't need a ton. This is probably one of the cuter frames that I've ever seen at the Dollar Tree. We're going to start by removing the middle part out of the picture frame, which is actually really easy to do with this one. And then we are going to paint the body of the frame in black chalk paint, but we want to leave the beads their natural color. Make sure to tape off those beads ahead of time. We are going to set the frame aside to dry while we move on to the next step. Now we're going to cover up the saying with some sort of Christmas scrapbook paper. Now you could pick out whatever works for your decor. I thought this red color would pop nicely. We are just going to mount it by using some spray glue, and then we're going to rub it on to make sure it's nice and flat. I wanted to use the chalkboard round tags that Whitney sent, and so I start by removing the string, and then I cut a Merry Christmas decal on my Cricut machine, and I did it in both gold and white because I wasn't really sure what color I wanted to do it in, so I just figured I would do them both at the same time and decide later. And so I ended up going with the white just because I really felt like it stood out. Then I applied this decal to the tag. To cover up the hole, I decided to add a little embellishment, and for that I used a 3-dimensional poinsettia sticker and stuck that to our tag. To make it a little interesting, I just twisted it a little off kilter, and then I used double-sided mounting foam tape and mounted it to our scrapbook square. By now our frame is dry and we can reassemble, and how easy was that? In a matter of a few minutes we have a very cute upgraded Dollar Tree frame that does not look like it came from the Dollar Tree, but a cute boutique store. Honestly, you could use this idea for any season with a few minor adjustments. What do you think of this DIY? I just want to give a real quick shout out to my dad because today is his birthday and he is the best Papa Bear a girl could ever ask for. Happy birthday, Dad. So for our next DIY, we are going to keep it really simple, but I also think that this one will be a really great gift idea, so just keep note of that. We are going to take this picture frame that she sent me with the little clothespins on it, and we're going to just give it new life. We're not going to do much to change the function of it, but just make it look a lot more chic. We are going to start out by clipping the twine in the middle of the back, and then we are going to take the middle of the frame out. Then we're going to paint the frame in a black chalk paint and set that aside to dry. While this paper is cute, I just wanted to switch it out for wood veneer scrapbook paper that I've been holding on to for just the right thing, and I think this project is it. I trace our backing onto the paper and cut it down to size. I also mount this using the same spray mount adhesive and smooth it out. In addition, I also have another decal that says best day ever. We apply that on the right hand side of the frame. Then we are going to reuse that same twine with the clothespin on it, but I'm going to leave only one of them this time. And I am going to make sure it's much tighter this time around, and we are going to hot glue that into place on the back so that it does not sag over time. And again, a super speedy upgrade that would make a great gift idea. Give it to a friend or a loved one with a photo that is meaningful to the both of you. What do you think? Okay, so I've been joking about this dog bowl, but honestly, truthfully, I came up with multiple ideas almost immediately. But the one that I'm gonna go with, I had a dream about it. And I woke up and I'm like, that's an awesome idea. So what I thought we could do with this dog bowl is create a giant snow globe. I had a dream about it and I thought, well, that's kind of a fun idea. And I had everything that I needed already to do this. So I thought that I could take rubbing alcohol and possibly rub off the dog bone paint on the bowl prior to painting it, but this didn't work out. Now I probably could have also sanded it down before, but I just decided to get going. My original idea was to use some dark walnut spray paint that I already had on hand, but it kind of had this glossy finish and it made the dog bone stand out even more. So I switched to black chalkboard paint, which is very flat, and I did about 5 coats of this and pretty much covered all of the dog bone. And now you really don't notice it at all. Now I wanted to use this to display my nativity set. However, there was only enough room for Joseph, Mary, and baby Jesus. By the way, I made over this vintage nativity set in a much older episode, which I will link down below if you are interested. To create a sturdy foundation, I take some double-sided sticky tape just to kind of hold down the foam into place, and I place some Dollar Tree foam into the bottom. Then I take some fake snow that I've had for years and years, and I've used it over and over and over to cover up our foam. And then I had some prettier fake snow from the Dollar Tree that had glitter in it, and it was just looked a lot better. And I put that over the top of our other snow to add a little bit more sparkle. Then I place our Holy Family on this bed of snow. Now I know that Jesus was born in Bethlehem and there probably wasn't any snow there, but this is a winter scene since it's a snow globe. So I went with that. I poke some of our sparkly Christmas greenery into the foam to add some texture and color. I also decided that it needed a little bit of twinkle light, so I added that as well. Then I took our glass jar, which actually I used to house my granola bars and fruit snacks in, and I flip it over and I place it over the top of the dog bowl, and voila! We have a giant snow globe. Now I'm not planning on mounting it permanently, and it actually sits on there fairly securely as the edges actually lined up pretty nicely. Now I probably wouldn't go into the Dollar Tree and think, wow, I have to have that dog bowl for a DIY. But this challenge item actually turned out pretty darn cute, if I do say so myself. But I'm interested to see what you think, so let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this episode, here's another one that I think you'll like as well. Don't forget to check out the playlist, which is linked below, to see what all of the other amazing creators came up with their mystery boxes. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button because I'd love to see you around here soon. And to all of my DIY Niners, thank you so much for watching again. We'll see you soon. Bye.